¿Cómo está el plano? ¿Cómo quedamos?
Where should I look at you?
To me. No lo puedes, el que está torcido, pero no lo puedes colocar. Espera un momentito. No, a ver, es que normalmente hay que apretarlo un poquito. Y esto seguramente habría que ponerlo bien, solo que se puede cambiar. Con las patitas.
Vamos a notar que es como yo. Y sabes cómo va.
¿Seguimos bien los dos? Bueno, pues estamos de nuevo en el NH de Avilés, en el Celsius, y esta es la última entrevista que tenemos este año en el Celsius 2019. Ha sido un larguísimo camino para llegar hasta aquí, pero finalizamos por todo lo alto con la escritora rusa de terror Anna Starobinets. Hello, Anna, how are you?
Yes.
Shall I take it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Are you happy with the Celsius?
Yeah, I like it. It's a very nice festival and a very nice small city.
How is a regular common day of writing for you in your life? Just a regular one.
I think I'm going to disappoint everyone, but my every day is a complete mess. Most of the days are. First, I'm so tired. After the previous day, I can't get up the time I planned to get up, because when you don't go to office, well, you're right, you don't go to any office. You have to have some self-discipline, and that is my weak point. So first of all, I sleep more than I was going to. And then I'm very short of time. So then I wait until the babysitter comes to take the smaller kid from me, because it's impossible to walk when he's nearby. Then I walk my dog. Then I have lunch and everything. And then I find myself in the situation that it is like 3 o'clock. I haven't even started yet, and then maybe there is no sense in starting anyway. So I have a kind of small panic attack that I will break another deadline. And then closer to maybe 4, I do have some classes for teenagers, kind of creative writing for them. Okay. And when we don't have classes, I just work there, I write there. And if I feel too lonely, because you are completely alone in that apartment, I go to the cafe. I like to work in cafes.
Why is that?
I'm very used to noise, for instance. It doesn't distract me. And sometimes, it may sound weird, but sometimes some noise, which is not your voice, your noise, no one is talking to you personally. This noise helps me to get more concentrated. It is a bit disturbing, so I need to concentrate. Okay. If it is complete silence, sometimes I can't concentrate on my work. So cafe is good choice. And also I like coffee, by the way. I like, when I'm writing, I like to drink coffee or wine sometimes. So I order whatever I like, and I have that noise, and some people are around me.
There was a question here I had here for you is, do you consider yourself as a well-organized writer? So I think...
The answer is no.
Russian is a very different language from other languages like English, French, Spanish, or German, even German. What advantages and disadvantages do you think that has for you as an author? What do you think? Is better? Is worse?
Of course, it's hard to judge, because I was born into that language. I didn't choose it. But it's very rich and very expressive. It is an advantage, because my English is rather poor, but at least I know how it is organized. I learned some Latin. I know how languages like Spanish, French, and Italian are. Or I know the system, but no one knows the system of Russian. So Russian language is, to me, close to perfect, because it's in the same time a bit irrational. It's not like German, There is a system, but you can always break the rule. Okay. But there is some special harmony in it. It is, in other sense, it's beautiful, and you always have a choice. There are lots of synonyms and lots of ways of putting this or that, lots of options, how you express your emotions, or, I don't know, some thoughts, and the art of choosing the right, because you have a choice, but there is always the right one.
Okay.
So this is the special art of choosing the best word of, I don't know, 20, and the best order of words of all the 10 variants of order of words. Russian language gives you great opportunities of play of words. It is like with English. English also, like Alice in Wonderland. How could you possibly read it in any other language but English? Because it is full of play of words. You lose like half of the sense when it is translated. Same thing with Russian. When I write the text, I know when it will be translated. I know in advance what things will be lost.
In your writing, it's common to find insects. What is the meaning of that?
Sci-fi authors are very lucky to live in the world in which the insects exist, because those are kind of like, it's another civilization of monsters living close to us. To me, they look scary, they behave scary, they are the aliens. The aliens are close to us. Have you ever looked into the eyes of an insect? It seems to be someone from another planet, and then you have an access to their lives. You have that some, I don't know, scientific researches of how, for instance, the intellectual insects function. To me, the most interesting thing is the functioning of the society of insects, the intellectual insects like bees or ants or termites, because in the same time it is a community of separate creatures, but it is one creature with one mind that combines all of them. And to me, it is often a metaphor of like totalitarian society, for instance, with unification and all that stuff.
Oh, I love that. Another element in your books is the technology, the use of the technology. Do you think technology will save the world or will destroy it?
I think that on the one hand, of course, it is like an engine for the progress, but on the other hand, all technologies which are connected with virtual reality, internet, and that stuff makes us weaker than we are. Like bad things happen to our memory, for instance. All the things our ancestors used to memorize, used to know, we forget. Like, do you remember like 10 phone numbers of your, and me neither. And when I was a kid, I had in my memory lots of phone numbers. And I don't remember how I get from point A to point B because I have the Google map. And if you went out of your house and left your the cell phone at home, you're absolutely helpless.
Yes.
You feel abandoned. You can't make decisions, and that to me it's very dangerous, because I'm dependent on my mobile phone, the information that I keep in a virtual reality. So if something happens to that, it is like something happened to my brains.
That is called the extended mind. It's part of our mind, is in our pockets.
That is called that, but that is not that. Our mind, it finishes inside our head, and that is something we do not control, because there are virus attacks. Well, anything can happen with that extended, so-called extended mind. It is not yours. You don't know how it functions. It can be closed from you. And also bad things happen to your attention, to your abilities, not your personally, like to your abilities to perceive information. We are used to getting very short pieces of information on Facebook, on TV, and so on. It's short and it should be bright. If there's an advertisement, it should be short and with big picture. 10 years ago, people were capable of reading long reads, in newspapers, big texts.
This is the attention span. It's
Yeah.
called attention span. We have a very short attention span, just a few seconds.
That is not good, because you can't concentrate. That is what is happening with me when I'm trying to work. I need to make a great effort to make myself sit down and concentrate on my story, and not on some other people's stuff on Facebook. What happens very often, like I need to make some research For instance, I am now working on my book for kids, which is called The Beastly Crime Chronicles. It is a detective story, but with the animals as characters. Animals live in the woods. Sometimes I need, well, it's not scientific book, but sometimes I need to find out what the badger eats. So I go to Google that, and then in half an hour I find myself in Facebook answering someone something about, I don't know, someone else's friend's problem. Why on earth I am doing that? And what do badgers eat finally? And that is the problem of attention. And I guess it's not only mine.
What do you think that is the most important ingredient in a good horror story?
It is that what frightens you, what scares you, shouldn't be actually shown. You show only the part of it or the shadow of it, and that is what scares you. It is like if you put into your soup, talking about ingredients, it is a meat soup, but if you put the pig, the body of the pig, you will ruin the soup, because it should be small pieces of meat. It's the same thing with horrors. A monster who has a bloody face and claws and everything is not funny. He's not scary. You need a shadow of that monster on the periphery.
Do you have a good advice for future writers or writers they are starting now?
In Russia, we say, like, if you feel you are able not to write, don't write, which means you don't need to force yourself. You should do it only if you really can't live without that.
So we have the last question. Is called the blind question. It's a question that is blind. Yes,
Okay.
because it was made not for me. It was made for the last author I interviewed. It's also about writing. The author is called Jesus Cañadas. It's really good. It's super good. It's a Spanish one. Do you recognize some dark parts of yourself in any of your characters?
Yeah, sure. I use people in my stories a lot, and I use myself. I use many evil features of my own character. I know myself better than anyone else. I know how it works.
Thank you so much for your time, for your patience. I hope you will enjoy the festival.